We are back, Hearthstone Global Games. It's going to be match number 5 today. We are in week 9, day 2. And we've got Chile versus Israel coming up. Lorende is going to join me for this one. This is going to be a pretty key one because Israel need a win here.
Yeah, Israel have got 2 bites at the cherry, basically. They can win this one here against Chile, or they can win next week against undefeated Italy, and they go through if they win either or. If they win neither of those 2 games, then Finland will go through. We'll have a quick look at the groups now to show you that.
Yeah, so Italy there, at the top, as we said earlier. Israel currently in 3rd, but they have the 2 matches that are left to play out. So if they get any win, they will just not be caught by Finland. But if they lose both of them, then depending on the game record, then Finland could actually just sneak up there and get that 3rd place.
Finland will overtake because they will go below.
Oh, yeah, so they'll take too many losses, right? Yeah, so Finland will be crossing their fingers that Israel take a double loss, but they need to lose this week. And then they need to lose next week as well if Finland's got a chance. Israel, though, got in a very nice position. We've been talking a lot about what these teams need to happen. And look at Romania, specific things need to turn up for them to win. Whereas it's all on Israel. Israel needs to win 1 series out of 2, and then they go through. It's as simple as that. We can check out the teams they're going to be playing out now. It's going to be Topo Pablo and Satama and Nefu, and then Machine is going to be playing for Chile.
Yeah, decent looking lineup for Israel. It's Glazer, Hatul, Murray, and Jonathan. I believe I got those somewhere close.
Yeah.
Glazer is kind of the carry in this team. He got to the top 8 of HCT Winter, lost to Pavel there. No harm in that. Hatul gets some good top 100 finishers. In his own words, though, it's only when he plays enough. So he's not a casual by any means, but sometimes he just doesn't get the time to get those top 100s. So he's kind of a decent player as well. The other 2, I believe, are more content creators. And I would go as far as to say that if Israel get through, they would be the biggest surprise out of all 24 to go through.
Yeah, I think, I sort of echo what you said about Glazer. Glazer's a great player, and even in interviews and such, we've sort of seen the team gathered around him, you know what I mean? Like, he's the central focus there. Look at these amazing shots of Israel as well. Wow. I don't think I've cast too many Israel games. I think I've cast like 2. But yeah, they've seen one of the more interesting teams in terms of how the team synergy works, right? And I do believe that Glazer is that central point, and we'll see if it's going to be enough to beat out Chile. We can check out the matchups and how they're going to look. We do actually have some news as well that it is going to start off with, well, first off, let's talk about the format. It's going to be a team best of 5. Each player brings 2 classes. They get to pick one versus their opponent's one, and then it's first team to 3 wins takes it. As you saw in the previous series, it can go to an ace match where a player gets to play again, but with a class they have not played yet.
Right, and Saitama is not able to play today, so Nefu is filling in for him. But it is looking like Nefu might not be able to get here today. So we're going to see how that pans out. It will start to 1-0 to Israel if he doesn't get there for the start time.
Yeah, and if Israel go 1-0 up already, that's a huge help. They're all already in a good position, saying you've got 2 series to play out this week and next week. If you win 1, you're in. And now they're already 1-0 ahead against Israel, which against Chile, apologies, which out of their 2 opponents from Italy and Chile, you've got to be more scared of Italy at the moment. They're dominating the group, you know what I mean? They're an actual, like, pre-built Hearthstone team as well, so they're the scary opponent. So Israel really want to get this done now, and we can see that Nefu has, in fact, not shown up, something that has come up, so he's not been able to attend, which means Yonatanen actually gets the win. The picks would have been Rogue versus Warrior, but it doesn't matter too much as this was a default win. And we're going to be moving on to Machine versus Hatul. Hatul on the Priest, Machine on the Rogue.
Yeah, and that can be interesting to see exactly what they are, as always. Keep on about the Priest deck. We've just seen so many different Priests. Every time I say, oh, it's going to be Silence Priest, and then it's not.
Yeah, it's really interesting to me, and I feel like we can have this conversation almost about any class in the game. Maybe minus Warlock at the moment, but I genuinely feel like, well, next expansion, Warlock's just probably going to be back. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be so many cards released that Warlock's going to find something there, because Warlock is almost there. We've seen people play Zoo and take wins with it. Almost there. But other than Warlock, I'd say like most decks have either, well, multiple archetypes, and then even within archetypes, multiple builds. Look at Aggro Druid. Look at Gunter Mage, which is just like crazy at the moment. There's a core set of cards, but similar to Paladin, the filler is really what molds the deck and makes it do one thing very specially.
Yeah, and Israel have played Priest in all 3 of their matches, and they've won 3 times with it. So 1-0 start, and they're starting off with a class they haven't lost with yet. putting them in a pretty good position at the start here.
Yeah, you can be feeling good about that. And it does mean as well that if they take this win, they'll be 2-0 up. And that's going to look great for them. Only needing one more game in this series to take the series and to take a spot into the stage number 2 of Global Games. And as we said, stage 2 is a bit of a quicker one, in case you figure. It's going to be 3 weeks and smaller groups. So it'll be the same format, round robin. They'll play in the same format as we've seen so far, but only 3 weeks long. And they'll just be like, just running through those games very, very quickly. And then the top cut go into a top 16 single elimination tournament, which is frankly going to be brutal.
Yeah, we're going to have the big reveal next week of how many, well, we know there's 24, which 24 teams go through. We'll have all the top places, the second places, the third places. We'll tell you who killed Lola Palmer while we're at it. We'll just reveal the whole lot next week.
All the secrets come out.
Wow.
And that's why I won't be here next week to reveal that information, as I don't want to be involved. But I, in fact, won't be here next week. I'm taking some time off. It's gonna.
What?
Who is it next week?
You're taking another day off.
Is it you and Falk next week?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. So it'll be London and Falcone.
So 2 days off you've had all year already.
Yeah, total of 2. I've not seen my bed for a long time, Lorinda.
Kids
I would like
today.
to see it again at some point soon. But we are going to be moving into this game. It's going to be Quest Rogue from Machine versus the Dragon Priest from Hattel. And you see, Team Israel, as always, just gathered around. The pirate hat has been in every single match, every single match I've cast, at least. So,
Yeah, this is my
lucky
first
pirate hat.
Israel cast, so I'm not familiar entirely with the pirate hat. Obviously, I've watched a lot of the broadcasts, but it's something that I had missed. Machine playing for Chile. Machine came top 8 in the Americas WESG. The Americas include players like Zalay, Sotel's favourite player, players like Frozen. So he came top 8 in that lineup. He also must have won the Chile qualifiers to get there.
Yeah, I believe Zalay was the first player to put Frostbolt in Mage.
Yeah, Sotel told me that earlier.
Yeah, along with other ones like Tark Reaper and Aggro Druid, of course.
Wild Growth,
the second most common. Yeah. I'm going to get into it now. And look at the opening hands. There are 2 bouncers and a Novice Engineer. 3 bounces total. But looking a little bit slow. Probably just going to be Hero Power.
Yeah, very expensive when you choose to complete the quest with the Engineer, so sometimes teams do just choose to delay it and see if they can pick up something quicker. There's so many 1-drops to complete with that is indeed what they're going to do.
This matchup can be tough for Priest. I feel like they need a much quicker start than they currently have.
They do have the Dragonfire Potion in their hand. If they can Shadow Vision into another one, clear 2 boards full of 5/5s at some point much later in the day, that is something they can do to win this matchup, but it can be really difficult to set that up.
Yeah, and this is how drastic the matchup is. Nether Spy on 2 with no dragons in hand. I just need something on the board.
It's a 1/3, that's a mate. Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, you can't even use it to get another dragon with later. It's just delaying. And look at this curve. I mean, when would you play it if you didn't play it now? You're going to curve 3, 4, 5 pretty well, so might as well get it down there now. Chile do pick up a 1-drop, but it's not the 1-drop they had in mind. However, it is a much cheaper way to complete the quest. You can see the damage this Nether Spite's doing, though. It's meaning that Novice Engineer now can't be just lobbed onto the board.
Is it going to be... It is. Patches into bounce. Using the Brewmaster because that's the one that actually just trades into the Nether Spite. If you play the Ferryman, it leads to, maybe Cleric coming down, hit heal, which is a nightmare. You definitely don't want Priest to draw additional cards. Ooh.
As if
the
by
Spite
magic.
coming down a turn too late.
This Talon Priest also going to be awkward now because that will also die to the Brewmaster plus Hero Power from the Rogue, which means that there's just going to be no damage, and everybody knows the way you beat the Quest Rogue is to kill them quickly. It's now going to be almost certainly reliant upon that Dragonfire Potion.
Yeah, one of the issues here as well is now Swashbuckler's available. Kind of feels bad about bouncing the patches to a certain extent.
Right.
You're just not going to get that good value from it when you end up playing it. Is almost, well, is every single time just going to go into face for 1 because it can't trade with a minion if you want to keep bouncing it.
Yeah, I mean, they can change course, of course, if they feel they're going to get enough out of a Swashbuckler. They are only 2 activations deep on patches, so if they feel like they don't mind with this Vanish in hand, waiting a little bit longer, they could switch course.
Yeah, especially as well, because if they really wanted to, they could buff the Swashbuckler and then do the trade and say, well, the Swashbuckler's probably not going to die with just the Nether Spite on board. Looks like he's going to buff the Brewmaster, though, and just get that instant value right now.
And this is not the card they're intending to win the game with as such. This is just a defense against a priest putting too much down to kill them with. These minions are actually capable of killing a priest of the feast on their own, which is just a bunch of damage that the priest won't be putting in their face.
Yeah. Also, as well, importantly, that this just it buys more and more time for the priest to get to the Dragonfire Potion, which is just a clear almost every single time once the quest is procced.
And the quest is procced at their leisure now already. From that opening play where they didn't play the Novice Engineer, just chose to dagger up, that's turned out to be tremendous for them, because now they can just complete the quest when they want to. And look at the board they've developed.
Yeah. So that's going to be 2, this one's going to be 3, and then the Shadow Step's going to make it 4.
Yep, and they're going to not use much mana in the process, so next turn they're able to do things. Still got the Vanish as well if they need it, but I don't think they're going to. Patches getting it done 1 point at a time.
It's 27 more times, Patches, you got this.
Yeah, chill, Patches. I think you might need your friends for this one.
Yeah, and Patches is going to be held on to. There's no need to play it this turn. You can play it for 0 mana next turn and play the quest, and maybe play a 1-drop if it's drawn as well. So it means that Patches is going to be a 5/5 charge, so it won't take him 27 more goes. It'll only take him a few. 6.
This is true, but the Dragonfire Potion is going to delete at least a good chunk of this board once, and even though Israel's hand is heavy, they are going to be able to start to put this stuff down. The Operative is going to be able to challenge, obviously, as a 5/6, challenge 1 minion. The Nether Spite's going to kill the 3/1. They might just be able to stall out here, especially if Machine draws badly.
Yeah, this Operative draw is actually pretty huge. I would struggle not to want to see this Operative this turn. Next turn, you can either Dragonfire or like Lyra coin Shadow Visions, which is actually a very strong combo.
Yeah, 2 ways to set things up. And you are on 27, you are a priest, so that health total goes down rather quickly against Quest Rogue, but which is fine, just clearing up the board.
Well, what this does as well is the Bookworm doesn't die to the 5/5s, and also you just Dragonfire the first wave next turn, right? That's the plan, right? You know, Bookworm doesn't kill any 5/5s, it doesn't die though, it doesn't die to Dragonfire either, so you just say, I'll wipe the board this turn and go, if needed, and then if not, you can start developing the Drake behind it. Sorry, the Draconid Operative behind it.
And it was their last chance to get anything out of the Bookworm in terms of killing a minion as well. Preparation pretty big, it means that the Vanish is going to be able to be used at will as well. They can Novice Engineer here if they want. They've got a wealth of options, but, and it's a pretty big but, this Dragonfire Potion, if Chile overextend, could just possibly win the game for Israel. Possibly.
Yeah. I wonder if you actually Novice Engineer this turn. You could Novice first.
I think you can do it first to see where you stand. Or you could do it second. Alright, Mimic Pod in hand. That's actually a really big pickup because nearly every card, having 2 of them next turn is going to be really useful.
Yeah, really strong value engine, especially because we've not seen that many minions actually be played from Machine. So if any minions get picked up, it's going to be pretty huge.
So you talk about the coin play. Obviously, the coin was used last turn. They shouldn't be able to die next turn in most worlds, so can afford to develop this a little. Glacial Shard might be handy.
Yeah, especially with Patches, right? Patches already used. It means you're not getting that 1 mana 10 damage play.
Yeah, that's really handy. The others are nice cards, but I don't think there's going to be time for something like Swashbuckler to be relevant, unless you've got like a handful of specific cards, like 4 or 5 cards you can name that you really want to help you.
Glacial Shard going to come down and just soak, not soak up, but stop 5 damage, which is actually pretty huge. Prep.
So prep into Mimic Pod seems the deal, but then save it for the Vanish.
Yeah,
later.
You say prep for the Vanish. Mimic Pod's cheap enough. Anything you draw, you can play, right?
Sure. Interesting.
It's
suddenly lethal-esque looking things are available. Not quite.
Yeah, but the problem now is, are you okay with passing this turn and just having the Novice? Because you could just Shadow Step, Novice, Shadow Step, and just draw more cards.
Right.
But the problem then is you lose the charge burst, like Shadow Step, charge, Shadow Step, charge.
Yeah, the fact they're trading instead of going face isn't setting up the 21-point kill. I know that Priest can heal, but they must be aware the Priest really doesn't want to heal at this point. They want to develop their board.
Yeah, this is actually nice. Going to be able to go for Vanish.
Yep. And they are going to deliver 15 by the look of things.
Probably going to hit Shadow Step this turn as well. Patches having charge is the most valuable minion in hand at the moment. Nowhere near as Novice Engineer is nowhere near as good. Does, like, you know, draw a card, sure, but this means you can actually go for the Shadow Step charge again, which is an additional 10 damage from hand.
Yeah, saving it for next turn, just when they have more information. Also, not leaving things on the board is handy because of the aforementioned Dragonfire Potion. All right, Shadow Word Death will get rid of something if it's left hanging around.
They live.
No taunts at the moment. So at the moment they're alive. It's only going to be 10, 11 coming in next turn. Even another bounce would only make that 16. But it is a bit tight.
Could draw into 2 bounces. Could draw into 2 charges though, right? Because Novice Engineer.
Yep. Yeah, definitely got a chance of getting it next turn. They did take the Glacial Shard and not the Biofin there, because the Biofin would just have prevented 1 damage.
Glacial Shard onto the face this turn wouldn't be too terrible, to be honest.
Yeah, I think they're just saving in case something is hanging around on the board. Try and force another minion to be played and then catch them all with the Dragonfire Potion in 1 turn. Alex Straza, is it ever going to get value offensively or defensively? Is there time?
I don't think you can ever pay 9 mana for a card and not die versus Rogue.
Yeah,
that's the
how
problem.
it seems.
Glacial Shard of Machine Zone. He's going to be able to draw.
You like my invention?
See what the invention is.
Firefly.
That's a good invention at this point in proceedings. And this is the problem, right? Even though it looks like you've got the Rogue running out of stuff, just the whole deck is 2 of a kind and 3 of a kind.
But it's slow, right? Because if Chile actually just splurge onto the board this turn, well, just use Dragonfire, right?
Yeah.
Wipe, done. But none of these minions have charge, so there's still only 10 damage from Patches.
And I was going to say, I don't think they will splurge onto the board, but splurge indeed they have.
Well, you may as well play the Firefly, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, probably going to be Dragonfire this turn.
Yeah, there's an option to heal your own face, Shadow Word Death, one of the 5/5s, freeze another 5/5, and maybe try and sneakily get them to commit, but...
Oh, I'd be worried.
I'd be terrified.
This is the slowest turn they're probably ever going to play, right?
Yeah.
Of course, the issue is that you don't have much to do with that 2 mana. Shadow Visions or heal, and you probably want to hit heal every time.
Yeah, if you can heal 3 times somehow over the rest of this game, you buy yourself 1 extra slap in the face. But you've had enough of those from Sottle today already, so we'll let you off one day.
Fireman, there's a bounce. That's going to be 15 damage available from hand.
It is indeed. This Patches elusive little pirate that you just can't quite catch as well.
Yeah, he's a pain. So this is 15 from hand, but what will happen is Chile will probably hold on to the Patches once bounced. Or he can bounce it twice, and then hold on the second time. And then just leave the 2 5/5s in the form of the Ferryman and the Flame Elemental on the board. So then Israel will have to deal with 2 5/5s and a the knowledge of Patches in hand for an additional 5 damage.
Yeah, they do have the Lyra, which is capable of producing all manner of healing spells. If they can draw maybe a Radiant Elemental and have some sort of Lyra shenanigans, there are...
Binding heal, binding heal, binding heal, binding heal.
Yeah, I mean, they don't need many, right, of course, for now.
Yeah.
They are starting to push their own damage through. And Machine is actually out of cards after this, but they're going to be so low, they are going to need to...
I actually don't think you play Patches this turn. Interesting.
They're just going to Shadow Step it back now, but that's full information.
But that's it, right? It's like, well, now Israel know there is only Patches in hand, and there's no surprise factor. So Israel know exactly the kind of health they need to stick at, or the taunts they need to put up to be able to not die from this Patches. Talon Priest, it's not going to cut it, is it?
No, but they can just trade in the 5/6 to 1 minion. They can Lyra, Shadow Word Death the other. They can freeze something if they want. And they're not dead on board or dead on what they know. They'll be on 1 health or 3 if they heal, and a chance of the Lyra will stick, or the Patches will have to kill her.
Yeah, it's definitely risky, but you can't get past 11 health anyway, so you may as well play Lyra, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, there's nothing, you could do other things and play other minions, but you ain't getting past 11, you may as well go to 1.
So there's 2 boars. I think we've seen 1 Vanish. We've seen 3 of the 4 main bouncers. We've seen both Shadow Steps.
No, there's one Shadow Step. He mimic pod.
Oh, he mimicked.
Yeah,
Pod,
he
yeah. So
mimicked
he's
pod
still got
the
another
Shadow
Shadow Step. It's a decent number of outs, but it's not a ridiculous number of outs.
Oh, it's going to go for Glimmer Root.
This is not a Discover effect. All right, prep and do things, because otherwise you're going to lose. Preparation's really good with Lyra, by the way. Just thought I'd point that out in the few seconds we have. Let's see. If Machine whiffs here, they could actually lose this game.
Ooh, one more draw.
Oh, my goodness.
You like my invention?
Vanish is going to do it.
Vanish is going to be enough just for a second there. Look at Israel all staring like intently at what's going to happen.
They had a reasonable shot. They had prep, they had Lyra, prep, Shadow Visions to start doing some funky things. It's not going to be enough though. And no, guys, come back. That's not it. That's just one game, guys. Come back.
That does take it to 1-1.
So it's going to even it up 1-1 in Israel versus Chile. And that was surprisingly close.
Yeah, I do wonder if they'd gone for the Lyra Shadow Word Death there. Just give themselves several cards to shoot at, because you get a few redraws if you get a Naught Mana spell as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Just a few chances to heal yourself. They only need to heal for 4 or 5, and they would have been able to survive one more turn with a top deck.
The Talon Priest did very little, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yay, my minion's got more health, and I have a 3/4 that doesn't trade with any minion and doesn't do any real damage, you know, in the grand scheme of things. So it wasn't quite enough there.
Yeah, a bit unfortunate there, but gets to 1-1, and we're going to have a look to see if they made it in time.
Okay, so we are going to be waiting just a couple of minutes for Nefu. We did know he wasn't going to be, well, we didn't know. We knew a little bit late that he wasn't going to be turning up for game number 1. But we will give him a couple of minutes, as it's fair enough, I guess, to see if he can turn up for game number 3. If he doesn't, though, then Israel take, you know, the only game they've played, they've lost, but they are 2-1 ahead in the series, and will only need to win 1 more game.
Yeah, and that would put them through to the next phase. Raven, you've been here for many, many weeks. Who's your favourite team that isn't South Korea? Who is your pick?
Okay, that's a hard one. Let me think. I've actually quite liked Bulgaria, to be honest.
Damn it! Because that's what I was going to say next as well. Yeah.
Well, I wasn't going to ask you, so it's fine. But no, I think Bulgaria have been like quietly good, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, they've done some, you know, some nice deck choices, some good plays, but overall it's just been solid. And that's actually something I think is underappreciated. Right. I think no one remembers the players who just always just play well, you know, like just solid, no real mistakes. They remember, you know, like the players who do either something crazy, brings a crazy deck, or, you know, win a championship, win a major. And I think there's definitely something to be said for people just turn up and just, yeah, they might still lose a series because that's just the way it goes sometimes, but they just play very solid time and time and time again. And in global games, over the course of just 10 weeks of stage 1, having that ability really pays off.
Yeah, Morgalad's brought a lot of energy to this tournament as well. Like, you can see that the Bulgarians are really into this event, and fantastic to see it. You guys have all picked well, by the way. I think Cora picked Brazil, I seem to remember.
Cora did pick Brazil. Rob picked Canada. Yeah.
Stoffel picked.
Each got Russia.
Got Russia. Falcone picked Italy. I picked Greece and the Philippines. When they were both, one was 0-1, one was 0-2.
Lorinda just randomly gets 2 picks. This rule has still not been explained to me as to why Lorinda gets more picks.
It's the 2-pick rule.
Oh, okay. So I get the 2-pick rule going into stage 2. So I'll pick Korea.
No, I pick your second team for you.
Pick Korea and USA.
Switzerland.
Korea and USA.
Okay.
It's going to be fine. So, yeah, we're just going to give it a minute or so. We should be hearing very, very soon that it's not actually happened. I do believe that because he still hasn't turned up, there is going to be a loss. We'll check it out now, and it is. Murray will take the default win in this match, in this game, sorry. So it's going to be Israel's Glacier, sort of a captain of the team, versus Topo Pablo. It's going to be mage on mage action. I do like these mirror matches.
Yeah, major league stuff coming up here, the battle of the majors. And why do you like these matches, these mirrors?
Because, so, if it's Gunter Mage versus Secret Mage, I like it less so. But the Gunter Mage mirrors, there's so many points that get very, very close on whether you go aggressive or whether you play the control game. You know, you have a lot of your burn is your removal as well, outside of, say, Meteor.
Sure.
So it gets to the point where the second someone is too safe or, you know, too aggressive, they can actually lose off the back of that.
Right.
That interests me greatly because it's just acknowledging it and getting those moments exactly right where you go, okay, they're on about 22 health. I have Fireball, Frostbolt, Firelands. I'm just going to go.
Sure.
And then you go, and then your opponent has to react correctly as well. Sometimes you just try and race them when they start the race. Sometimes you control it and say, I will outlast you. Say if there's Alex Straza in hand, you can be like, well, I'll remove his stuff with my burn.
Right.
And then Alex, myself, may even go. You know, like, and then I just win the long control game. But how close this gets is very, very interesting to me. Also, just Eater of Secrets might be a card, and we'll get to see if that gets played. But so far, both of these decks could be secret. Okay, less so now with Flame Strike.
Less so now.
Yeah.
Flame Strike and Pyroblast. On the other side, like you say, it could be secret, especially with that babbling book.
Yeah.
How often you see that in Gunther now?
So I personally don't play it, but I do see a lot of people playing book still because it's just an additional one drop. So helpful against aggro lists, and also just value, right? It's just generates a spell for you. Sometimes that digs you out of a pretty deep hole.
Well, it's a fair start. Whatever happens, they've both got their happy little mana worms that everybody loves.
Yeah, the worry is, though, playing Mana Worm into Mana Worm is horrible.
It is.
Frostbolt just messes you up big time.
But if the Frostbolt isn't there, which of course it is.
Oh, Lorinda, this is how you play the deck.
And yeah,
the cards.
Pretty easy decision. They are taking their time on this just to make it look like they may have kept something useful in their hand. Make sure it doesn't just look like, hey, we had one choice and this was it. And now Chile, like you say, going to be up against it. Sorcerer's Apprentice, a nod maybe to secrets.
Yeah, except there are lists that are running Apprentice as well. So Viper ran it first, I believe, and then Astrogation is actually running a Gunter Mage with 2 Counterspell, 1 Ice Block, 1 Yogg, and that does run double Apprentice. Because turns out Apprentice is just a good card. You put Apprentice and Glyph in the same deck, and ludicrous things can happen. You can suddenly play a secret on the same turn you Glyph it.
Yeah.
You know, on turn 2, on turn 3, for example. It's absolutely nuts.
Yeah, and Yogg is still a very good Hearthstone card, but generating the scenarios for it to do its thing are much, much harder since it was nerfed all the way back last summer. That seems so recently.
Yeah, and, you know, imagine what the game would look like if Yogg was still how it was, and it just continued doing its thing.
Yeah. Okay, Chile, just there's some proof.
Yeah, there you go.
Now we know what's happening. So choice to occupy the board with the book and the valet here is not great because you don't get to reduce your crystal runner. If you intellect, you can look for a secret. But also, if you play the book and the valet, you have got something on the board.
Yeah, I think I like that more than the intellect. You actually have stuff to do in the following turns. And more importantly as well, Glacier doesn't. Glacier has Fireball, Flame Strike, Alex, and Pyro, the wrong end of his deck at the moment here.
Yeah,
but it doesn't mean that these draws will get progressively better.
Maybe.
Maybe.
But that is lethal in hand. He's just got to get to turn 14 or something to execute it. That's Warrior. But just going to ping off the book, you would think. Again, they're just doing this bluff thing where they're pretending these are Hearthstone cards in their hand.
And to be honest, in this matchup, there's even a small valid point to say, do we need to Fireball that 2-3?
Yeah.
Because you can play this matchup. You can either race them, as we saw early on. It was Mana Worm on Mana Worm and then Frostbolt. Or you can just say, I will just remove everything you've got, and if Yogg is your like win condition, I would take that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're in control and then they have to Yogg to win, I will be the person in control at that point as opposed to the Yogg player.
And the control is different in this sort of deck. Like it's different if you've got Yogg against maybe, I don't know, an out-of-control aggro druid for some reason. I don't know how that would happen on turn 10, but Yogg will then just destroy everything a lot of the time. But this doesn't do that. This will have 1/8/8 on the board or something similar, and Yogg's not so hot in those situations anymore.
Yeah. It's just going to be a ping. Going to just chill. Just have a coin into a Flame Strike will be available. Not yet, but we're getting there.
Arcane Intellect now to sort this hand out a little bit because having the expensive Crystal Runner, that Crystal Runner, I've said before, it gets much, much worse when you go past turn 4. Even if it only costs 2 later.
Yep. Ice Block ping, probably looking likely here.
Yeah, just got to think about the Fireball party for mana purposes, but Ice Block ping is it. Do you ping the valet? I guess you do. The only problem with this is it tells them you haven't got a hand of cards.
Or it tells them you've got Volcanic Potion.
Sure.
Which is something to consider.
Sure.
Because there are versions of this list that run 2
Yep.
as well, so it's, you know, heavily anti-aggro. But Pablo doesn't care because he has a counter spell. So can go for the counter spell now.
Yeah, counterspell seems really handy. It sets up everything. Looks like he's going to Arcanologist first, I think.
I'll just counter spell Medivh Valley.
Yeah.
Your Medivh Valley, when you're playing this list against Gunter Mage, is almost always going face. So, you know, unless it's very early game and, you know, it's like turn 4 into a minion, but there's no minions here. So I think you just get it on the board. Go face.
The coin there was testing for counterspell, of course, as well, which is why everything took so long on the next play. And now he's going for the Arcanologist, because if it gets copied, then it's not so disastrous. He can valet it away next turn. Yeah, and they now know what they're up against and what's going on. In fact, they don't know 100% what... Oh, they saw a Mana Worm, didn't they, turn 1? So they do know what they're up against, yeah.
Okay, so there's the counter spell on the Ice Barrier. Not the end of the world. I think you were much more bothered about Flame Strike going off next turn, but we can see counterspell number 2 is there, and this has to be terrifying. It's more likely that this secret is not counterspell,
right?
But if it is, you're stuck. So I think Fireball has to be the play onto the 5/5 here. If you Fireball the 5/5, you can still just ping as well. Maybe now you Meteor instead, but the Meteor positioning is not great, and it looks like Glaze is going to go for it. Absolute nightmare.
And that is not quite GG, but that is so bad news now for Glazer.
I mean, that's Ice Block procced.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're literally just spending their time working out the best way to put it to 1.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, the Fireball into ping would have been exactly the same position as we're looking at now, except it would have been a 5/4, which doesn't change its attack. So it still would have been a problem. But these counter spells are absolutely back-breaking. And just look at this as well. Like, look at what Sorcerer's Apprentice allows you to do. Just truly unfair things. And even a proc at 1. Looks like it's going to be a loss for Israel. And Israel might lose this series 3-2 without winning a game. Winning a played game. It's
without the player who was subbed in, obviously having a problem today, not able to get there. And that means they are going to, default 2 games to Chile, but it's going to probably go to game 5.
Wow.
And it is. And if Israel lose this 3-2, then they have to beat the team who haven't lost next week.
Yeah, that's absolutely huge here. No, Chile just saying, yeah, I'm just going to glyph. Violence portal, see what I get.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not going to concede when you're on 1, we've already given you a 2-game start, we're going to take our time.
Yeah, now it's going to be Chile battling back from, quite honestly, a huge mountain to climb in this series, being effectively 0-2 down at this point without playing the games, and now they're actually 2-2 and evened everything up. So these games that have actually been played out are really not going Israel's way.
Yeah, I mean, Israel, in fairness, just couldn't do anything in that particular game. What was their opening hand? Alexstrasza, Pyroblast, and something else.
Flame Strike.
Yeah, I mean, that just wasn't doing anything. By the time the Flame Strike got there, the board was a huge amount of attack and a counterspell.
Yeah, I bet they're glad Nefu wasn't playing the ace match for this one as well. That would have been a nightmare. It's going to be Machine on the Shaman and Murray on the Shaman, so I imagine we are going to see just yet another Shaman mirror. And more than likely going to be an Evolve list, as it's just exceptionally common at the moment, as that's one of the Shaman lists that's rose to popularity in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, probably less than that even for the actual huge popularity. It's weird we're seeing a Shaman match mirror again, because this is the ace match where a lot of the time the decks are kind of buried down there. We've seen a lot of Shaman mirrors today, maybe in match 2 or match 3, where people are putting the things they want to play. But seeing it in the ace match means both teams not buried it, but they've wanted to wait till the end.
Was that the deck that they actually left till the end?
I didn't check that.
Oh, because there's also a point that it could just be the other good deck they didn't play, right? Sure. So I didn't actually get a good glance there, but yeah, we are going to be on the Shaman mirror. If it is the Evolve mirror, a lot of it is going to come down to the early turns, though turns 1 to 3 as major ones, especially if there's those special effect totems, whether you can coin them out, whether you can make a Flame Tongue totem stick. Firefly is a huge card because it's just a 2-for-1 effectively. Combine that with Flame Tongue and it can cause havoc. for your opponent.
Yeah, the opening hands are absolutely key here. And if Israel get a hand like they just got, they'll be going forward to next week, still not sure of their fate.
Yeah, Israel do have 2 goes at qualifying now into stage 2. This is the go number 1. They do need to get a win. The score doesn't matter as long as they actually get a win. They're currently 2-2. And then next week, if they lose this one, they need to win versus Italy. That's going to be a tough one. I think.
Yeah, that is going to be a tough one. I mean, in fairness, you've said twice now, Italy's going to be a tough one. Those are words I did not expect to be agreeing with at the start of this tournament. Italy have shown us all up, to be honest, because they've won every game and well, every match. And they've been good for it as well.
Yeah, it's one of the benefits of Hearthstone Global Games. We get to watch some of the most famous, some of the top-end pro players get together with their teammates from their country and battle it out. We also get to see players we don't know too much about. We haven't seen at majors or in, like the Hearthstone Championship Tour, for example. They get to play and they get to show what they've got. And to be honest, I've been probably more impressed by the unknowns, I will call them, than I have been by the professional players on a whole, like across all the countries. But I'm going to get into it.
What I have enjoyed about it is that the best teams, or the projected best teams, for the large part, have won their groups.
Yep.
But there's just been those 1 or 2 surprises. And the fact that the best teams have done well means the surprises are, like, legit.
Yeah.
Because they're up there with the teams that are doing well.
100%. And looking at both these hands,
wow.
Fireflies, as far as the eye can see, the Evolve going to be very important for Israel a little bit later on. I do like this Jade Claws, though. You have a 1-drop, so coining out Jade Claws to leverage that advantage with the weapon and keep the enemy's board down is very, very important.
Yeah, and look at how this will go next turn. It'll be Firefly and then into Flame Tongue Totem plus Patches. And although you'd rather have drawn the Pirate, actually drawing Patches instead of just a blank is probably not too bad here with the Flame Tongue in your hand.
Any card's better than Patches, Lorinda. Any card.
Take it back. Here we go. Plus Corsair. Now you don't want the Patches.
You have become Raven and I have become Subtle in this relationship.
Good.
I'm going to cry myself to sleep tonight after that one. But yeah, the Patches will be used with the Flame Tongue more than likely to remove one of the 3 totems, I would say. But yeah, Devolve is going to be pretty huge as well. I think the first person to get hold of a Maelstrom is going to be pretty important.
This has been a brutal start here. Both players just making sure they get that board before flopping out their Flame Tongue Totem and just starting to kill everything.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to flop your Flame Tongue Totem onto the board and assert dominance.
Okay, so Primal Fin Totem is going to be useful here to just start to generate that board required for the Flame Tongue. And as both teams know, there's almost certainly no way to kill 1/2s. Unless they're playing a Blood Mace Thalnos, which is really fringe tech.
Yeah, I think you have to go for the Claws, though. The Claws clears the board. You leave a 1/1 on the board and can play the Flame Elemental as well. So this sets up the Flame Tongue Totem greatly here. Okay, so the way this matchup normally works is whoever can keep a board for more than a turn normally just steamrolls the game and runs away with it. And this is the turn that's going to be difficult here for Murray, as he has to remove most of this.
He can give it 1 turn to try and draw the portal, just so he can devolve portal on the same go. He may just have 1 turn where he can, just do not much, just play Flame Elemental, Hero Power, go, and hope to get out of trouble.
I think you want to play Bloodsail Corsair here. You want to snipe the weapon, because the weapon's so valuable, it kills all of your stuff. And then it also trades well into the minions that are left.
Sure.
You can even follow up with just Patches, and just trade off one of the minions as well. You can actually just go Bloodsail, Flame Elemental, Patches, then suddenly you have a slightly better board than your opponent.
Yeah, I like the Bloodsail, obviously I'd overlook that instead of the Flame Elemental.
Go for the totem, though.
I do like the Totem, though. The Totem has to be dealt with a lot of the time.
I agree.
And it just means that when if you do get out of this mess, then you will at least have cards in hand to repopulate the board with. Whereas if you play all your 1-drops out and you try and clear up the board, you're going to have nothing left if you do get out of trouble.
Yeah, and also the Totem does reduce thing from below. I have no doubt Israel are playing it. You can see one in Chile's hand. Not played any Totems yet.
Now Chile's choice. Basically, they've got to work out what they read into that last turn. Do they think there's a portal? They probably don't, so they might just play a Primal Fin and go for a massive board.
Yeah, that's true.
This is the obvious play.
Yeah, Flame Tongue Totem is just great, because what happens here is you can trade into both minions and still have a minion either side of Flame Tongue alive, which is actually huge. Because now, normally, the Flames and Tome can be isolated onto the board there. But it's
And they did play around that portal. They could have traded a 3-2 into the 1-2 to keep everything alive, but instead they managed to keep it on 2 health, playing around the portal that they weren't sure if was there or not, and it's going to pay off for them unless Israel roll a spell damage totem, which I doubt they'll even go for.
Yeah, no, I do like it. It just creates an awkward board, and then behind this, there'll be cards along the lines of the Primal thing coming down now.
I think what you do is you portal here, and then you decide whether to patches the other minion to death. You see what you get from the portal, see what your situation is.
Yeah.
Are they looking maybe at playing patches Flame Tongue and just taking out the opposing Flame Tongue?
I guess that's the plan. Looks like it.
It's such a key card in the matchup. That's what they're going to go with. Making sure the patches is on the right, because that's the easiest part to repopulate until you get a Primal Fin. And actually, when you look at that board, that looks like a pretty good play.
Devolve into Mana Tide could be pretty strong here.
Yeah, I like that as well. That plays around the Maelstrom portal and also clears your opponent's board, give or take as well.
Yeah, like, you know, Voidwalker is just super annoying, but in general, Devolve gets you there, and we're going to see what happens here. Is it going to be a Voidwalker? Patches, perfect.
We've seen a lot of patches in this series so far. He was bouncing all over the place in the Rogue match. Now we've seen him twice on this side of Israel here.
I feel like just about Machine is getting the better end of the stick here, and Doppelgangster is huge for both players.
But they both got one, and Israel have the Evolve in hand ready for next turn. So
I think you slam Doppelgangster this turn.
you've got 2 choices. You can slam it this turn and just go for it, or you can devolve their board and do it next turn. Just to get rid of that Mana Tide. I think I slam it, but I understand if they want to just devolve for now and do it all in one go.
You could roll Hero Power first, because you might get Maelstrom. You might get spell damage, and then you don't have to devolve.
But then you can't Doppelgangster.
Oh yeah, I mean if you're not Doppelgangstering, you can either devolve the board
or you
get the spell damage.
That is definitely on. I'm just
so
misinterpreting.
So I played this deck a reasonable amount in the past couple of weeks. I feel like the times I've been in this position and not played Doppelgangster are the times I lose.
Yeah, I agree. I can see how that can definitely work.
Because they're just going to do it first. It's going to go for the totem. Isn't the spell damage. It's going to go for Maelstrom anyway.
Can you get another patches?
Oh my lord. Patches. 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 Would you believe it?
Aye.
No. No Doppelgangster. Second Doppelgangster, no Evolve to combine with them. But again, to me, it's just a good turn to play Doppelgangster. Like, drop one. Like, who cares at this point?
I don't think they have much choice. They're not going to, though. I guess they get the thing from below. Yeah. Actually, that's fine. Setting up a problem in theory for Israel, but Israel now just need to bump into the 0-2 and then Doppelgangster evolve with Bloodlust just in case they need any more help next turn.
Yep. This is actually huge now. We might be able to get back on the board.
So, Raven, how many stats do you think will come from this Doppelgangster?
Saul told me it was 29.
29 stats.
So 29 plus 1, that was it.
Oh, plus 1, sure.
What are we going to get? 10, 20.
32.
Missed.
Missed again.
Ancient Assassin's huge, though. Well,
yeah.
It's not, but it is.
Yeah, it really is.
It's a 1-1, but it's a huge deal.
Yeah, and that...
That is not a bad evolve, although the stats fall... the stats are actually over 30, but there's nothing too crazy. Taunt is nice. The high health on the taunt from Tarium is important, but a 6-6 and a 5-5 are just really, really solid. And everything extra just, potentially even sets up lethal with Bloodlust.
Yeah. If the Patient Assassin kills the thing...
You can just evolve it. Right?
Or that, but you just Patient Assassin it for guaranteed no more taunts, and then Bloodlust the rest, that is lethal.
Yeah, and now Doppelgangster coming down without Evolve. This matchup, I'll be honest, quite frankly, comes down to if someone gets Evolve off and the other one doesn't, it's going to be a big problem. But this kind of board is why I like Doppelgangster early, because at the end of the day, you have 3 2/2s on the board when most of your opponent's deck is made up of 1/2s and 1/1s. You know what I mean?
Well, Israel have found a way, unless I've miscounted, which has happened before, but 17 and 15 is 32, which is a bigger number than 28, unless I'm missing an interaction.
No, they're going to go for it. They're just going to take a minute to just double check there. But it looks like it is going to happen. They did use the Patient Assassin to kill the thing from below, but the attack didn't matter. High fives all around for Israel as they have put their spot into stage number 2 of the Hearthstone Global Games. Smiles all around. It got a little bit dicey there. They could have lost this series by going 3-2 without winning a game.
That would have been insane there, but their path is not finished yet. They are through to the next stage.
Yeah, they will be taking on Italy next week, of course. This is round robin, so regardless of whether a team's already through, you play out all of your matches. But yeah, you know, that is going to be it for Israel. They are going to be able to move on into stage number 2 just about. A little bit unfortunate for Chile, I must say. It's you know, there are things that come up in life that mean you can't attend matches and stuff. So I hope Nefu's everything's okay for him. But he couldn't attend, which is why there was 2 default losses. Generally hope everything's okay there, and it is unfortunate. But Israel will be happy they managed to get the win. Shout out to Chile though, they nearly did it. Starting a series effectively 0-2, and they still nearly won.
Right.
Very impressive. Very, very impressive indeed.
And I don't know the standings now for the top of the table, but if Israel win again next week against Italy, they may have a chance.
Yeah, well, we can have a chat with Glasser while he's here and looking happy. Hello, guys. Congratulations on the win. It looked a little bit dicey there, as it was one of those weird situations because of the default wins. You could have ended up losing a series without actually, losing a series 3-2 without actually winning any games. But congratulations. Do you guys know that you're actually through to stage 2 now?
Yeah, we know.
Awesome.
We qualified. Nice default games.
Yeah. How did those series go for you guys? Because the ones you actually lost that you played out actually looked really rough. You know, both of them looked like really hard matches.
Yeah, the Priest against the Quest Rogue is a terrible matchup, and they had a really bad end, and they went with they started bouncing too fast, but we still lost. And overall, they picked good classes against us, so we should have probably lost that series.
Yeah, and how do you feel for the Evolve Shaman? How do you feel that mirror is? Do you like playing that mirror out, you guys, or do you feel like it's a bit of a pain?
I like it. I played the deck, and Murray played the deck a lot in the past week, and we're pretty confident with the Shaman. Nice. It's a strong deck.
So into phase 2, and obviously, as casters, we have to pick who we think are the best teams, who we think are the lower teams. And your team we overlooked. Do you think you can prove us wrong again?
Yeah, I do.
Good man.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
And now for the last match we have, we can now play troll decks and have some fun.
Well, now I'm just upset that I'm not casting next week, unfortunately. I'm actually off next week, but I'll definitely be watching 100%, so I look forward to that. Good luck in the match versus Italy next week.
Thanks.
And, good luck in Stage 2. I look forward to seeing you guys there. It's been a lot of fun to watch you play, especially like the pirate hat. So congratulations again, and we'll talk to you soon, no doubt.
Well done, guys.
And those guys in high spirits, and you can't blame them. It's
no.
Because it must be such a great relief to say, you know what, we had 2 goes at it. We had this match today, and we had the match next week, but we managed to get it done. And now we can check out the group and see what it looks like as we move on. Italy, as we said, 4-0, and now Israel moved up to 2nd place, and they are immovable from one of those top 3 spots now.
Yeah, just having a very quick eyeball of the group. If they win 3-0 next week, they will win the group because they will be ahead. I've just done that maths in like 2 seconds, so tweet me if I'm wrong. But I believe if Israel win that 3-0 next week, they will top the group, despite the fact that going into today, it's like, oh, they might not even get through.
Yeah, I mean, it's the nature of this format that it is really all up in the air for a lot of groups until the very, very end, right? There are some groups that are even more closer than this in terms of you see 2 1-4s. There are groups that don't have any 1-4s in them. So, bit of a surprise for me that Japan is lingering at the bottom there with the 1-4 score. It's a shame. I do like watching a lot of the Japanese players. I think they are very, very strong, especially with the recent performance in the Asia Pacific playoffs. But sometimes it's just not meant to be.
Yeah, APAC region, obviously, I've been touting all the way through this tournament, and Japan were one of my big hopes, really, at the back of that, but just not getting it done in that league as we go to...
So it'll be a short summary section,
Yeah.
I think, with only 3 games total being played out, but I do see the matchup Glacier was on about the Dragon Priest versus the Rogue. Even though Chile went with having to bounce the patches, it was still an absolutely terrible job to be able to try and take this win as the Priest, and they almost got there, but not quite, as Chile took it with a vanish to clean up this game, and the help of our good friend Patches. They popped up a few more times during this series.
Yeah, Patches was the story of this match. Apart from this game didn't happen, right? They had one card they could play basically for the whole game, and it was countered. Not quite that bad, but yeah,
it was very rough.
The whole game was not in their control at all.
Yeah, what happened is, Israel just didn't have any of the early/mid game. They started with a Mana Worm, but past that, there was not really anything. They got Arcanologist too, I believe. But then, your opening hand being like Pyro, Alex Straza, then drawing into Fireball isn't going to be good enough when your opponent is playing a lot of small minions on the board, backed up by Counterspell. It just shows the power of that secret.
And it's just that sort of feeling you get. You get 2 default wins, and you feel you're just going to not have it go your way, having turned up and thought, oh, we've got this given to us. Suddenly it's 2-2 and the pressure's on. That's one of the worst feelings in the world.
Yeah, and Glacier did say, himself and Murray have been playing this deck quite a lot in the past week or so, and they said they were confident going into this mirror match. And I think overall it showed. I think there were points that Machine could have just played out Doppelgangster just to get multiple attackable minions on the board. But at the end of the day, to be completely fair to Chile, they didn't have Evolve and their opponent did,
right.
And it just ended up being too much. There was the Evolve into the Strong Turn, even with more than just Doppelgangster Evolve, into Bloodlust as well to finish up that game. Very, very volatile matchup, but it was Israel that took it in the end and ended up booking their spot into stage number 2 of the Hearthstone Global Games. Pretty crazy day so far.
Yeah, pretty crazy day, and it's only going to get more crazy. First of all, tomorrow I think USA finish off their campaign against Peru, which may put Romania through, with Rob and Cora on that one.
Yep. All up in the air. I think we can actually check out how today has gone before we talk about what is coming up tomorrow. We kicked off the day with a 3-0 win, Portugal versus Slovakia, and then another 3-0 win with Switzerland versus Sweden, which was, I'll be completely honest, a bit of a surprise on my end.
Czech Republic continued to show how good they are, this time dispatching Germany, not winning the group by a total of 1 game, I think it was, in the end, from Ukraine, both on 4-1. Fantastic performance from them.
Yeah, and then a really cool series. I mean, Solcast Brazil versus Bulgaria, 2 teams that are a lot of fun to watch. Brazil ended up taking in a very close series, but that was just a complete blowout last game of Aggro Druid versus Quest Warrior. Then we just rounded up the day with Israel qualifying into stage 2 with a 3-2 victory over Chile. Again, unfortunate for Chile that player couldn't turn up and got some default losses, but they fought very, very hard and almost took it in a quite nice fashion there. We can check out what's coming up tomorrow with our American brethren. It's going to be Peru versus United States, as you said, is going to be coming up, and then Singapore versus Taiwan. I believe it is going to be Robwing and Cora bringing you that tomorrow, so it's definitely more global games for you to look forward to, and there is more global games for week 10 coming next week, and you'll be here to deliver that one, Lorinda. You looking forward to it?
Yeah, very much looking forward to completely find out the entire lay of the land for the second phase, and we'll know exactly what's going on by the end of next week.
Yep, we've had 9 weeks of global game stage 1 so far. We've got week 10 and the final week of stage 1 next week, and we are going to find out who is going to make it through, who is going to move on after a grueling 10-week tournament and round robin. That is it from us today. Make sure to check out Hearthstone Global Games tomorrow with Rob and Cora, and we'll be seeing you next week.